And thank you for joining us for this conversation with Mark Perna. And he's a best-selling author, national speaker, and dedicated workforce development and education leader. Hello, and thank you for joining us for this conversation with Mark Perna. And he's a best-selling. My name is Rod McQuality, and I am project director for the Innovative Curriculum Resources Project. The mission of the Illinois Career and Technical Education Innovative Curriculum Resources Project, headed by the Illinois State University and funded by the Carl D. Perkins Career and Technical Education Improvement Act of 2006, is to facilitate and coordinate career and technical education programs in public secondary schools in Illinois related to business, marketing, and computer education, family and consumer sciences, health sciences technology, and technology and engineering education. You want to make sure you'll visit our website at www.ilcte.org for all the scheduled professional development available for CTE teachers throughout the state of Illinois through June of 2019, along with over 2,000 CTE lessons that are available for CTE teachers in Illinois through MyCart. As you view this webinar, please feel free to submit any questions that you may have of Mark in the chat box, and we'll take a look at those and allow some time at the end for Mark to talk about those. So let's get started here. Mark, could you tell us a little bit about yourself and what are you up to today?
Sure, Rob. I'm actually talking to you from Stillwater, Oklahoma. Was here doing a keynote speech in Oklahoma and literally just got back. So I'm glad this all worked out with us today. A little bit about myself. I am CEO of a company called TFS out of Cleveland, Ohio. I do keynote speeches, 50 to 60 of them across North America in workforce development and career and technical education. And so I work with states and organizations in order to attract and retain significantly more of the right students into the right programs for all the right reasons. Just recently wrote my first book, which came out September 18th. It's currently a bestseller called Answering Why. And I consult with large organizations. So Rob, I am at your disposal. However you'd like to take it from here, I'm all yours.
Thank you, Mark. And I know you're a busy man right now and traveling, and we just were visiting here a little bit about his adventures that he's had and adventures he's got coming up, and an opportunity to be home for a few days here coming up maybe this weekend. But first of all, we had a question that we'd like to pose to you here to just get started, and maybe then we'll just kind of take off from there to see what we have. But we hear from teachers, we hear from counselors and administrators across Illinois, is how can we better prepare our CTE students for the global marketplace? What are your thoughts on this, Mark?
Well, preparing students today really involves creating and helping them create a competitive advantage in their lives. So, creating a competitive advantage is really the ability to take robust academic knowledge, which all of those students are getting, in their core subjects, but then also pairing it with powerful technical skills, technical and professional skills. And it's really the combination of both of those things that give young people a competitive advantage in this new economy of the United States. So being able to help them prepare is part of combining those things, creating a competitive advantage, and helping them see what I call a light at the end of the tunnel for what they're looking for. The light at the end of the tunnel is a simple concept. It's what does their career and their lifestyle look like at the light at the end of their tunnel. The tunnel is the time they spend with us. It's the work, it's the labor, it's the effort, it's the skill development, the academic rigor. It's all of the things that are necessary so that they can go down the tunnel and achieve whatever it is they want in their life based on their own unique interests, talents, and abilities. So to me, that's of critical importance. To get them to compete, they have to understand that they have to have those components. And the professional skills is an important piece of that.
Well, you mentioned, you hit on some things that we talked about through our group, also our team of leaders through the project that we have. We're preparing these students for a global marketplace. So how can educators motivate our students for these skills gap careers that we're talking about?
Well, it has to start with truly understanding how young people think and what makes them tick. Excuse me. And so I wrote the book that I wrote because of my work over the last 20 years, working with the younger generations and getting them to understand. Hold on one second. Sorry, I had a little bit of a tickle there. But getting teach administrators, getting educators in general to understand how they think. Young people today are extremely different than they were when you and I were growing up. Today there's two generations in play in our high schools. There's the Generation Y millennials and Generation Z, which is coming up right behind them. Once you get that tickle in your throat, Rob, you get that tickle in your throat. Anyway, forgive me. And so, those two generations, Generation Z goes from fetus to 17 years old. Generation Y millennials go 18 to 38 years old. And it's important to understand how they think and what's important to them. For instance, I call the younger generations the Y generation. WHY generation, because they need an answer to that question for everything they do. So in order to motivate them for this global marketplace, the first thing is you have to be able to connect and engage with them. And they need an answer to the question why for everything that they do. So this is an aha moment for a lot of people around the country when I speak, is that, if you and I ask a young person to do something, 38 and younger, or in this case, certainly high school, middle school, high school, and college age kids, if you ask them to do something and they look back at you and they say, well, why should we do it that way? Or why should I do it that way? Most of us take that as a smart aleck response, and we give the all-American response back, which is because I said so. But most young people don't mean it as a smart aleck response. Most young people say, why do we do it this way? Because what they're really saying back to us is, look, I'm unique, special, important. I'm intelligent, resourceful. I know how to use technology. Why do we do this? Because there has to be a better way to do this. And yet we cut their knees out from underneath them. So part of preparing them for that global marketplace and for closing the skills gap that we have in this country has to come from connecting, engaging, and understanding that we have to proactively answer their why. And that connects to the light at the end of the tunnel that I spoke about earlier.
You mentioned, you alluded some things there, Mark, in your discussion there about technology and the impact that it has on our students. How do you see technology impacting our students as they work to continuing, maybe right out of high school, continuing employment, or into a further degree or tech school? What's the impact of technology today on these students?
The fact that they need to understand it. They use it in their hands. I mean, clearly they're with technology everywhere they go, but they're going to have to take that and leverage it into a competitive advantage to wherever it is that they see as their light at the end of the tunnel. So technology is critical. You cannot just have academic knowledge anymore in this country. And that's a powerful narrative for career and technical education instructors and administrators to speak about as we talk about the value of career and technical education and workforce development, is that we cannot just have academic knowledge anymore. Young people have to have both academic and technical and professional skills, so that technology that they're very comfortable with, they have to learn how to leverage into a competitive advantage based on wherever it is they want to go.
We are starting to talk here about technology and how it's impacting our students and our society in general. So do employers so how are they viewing the soft skills of our students then as they come to the workplace?
Great question, Rob. So soft skills, we all know the term soft skills, or at least most of us know the term soft skills, but we're talking about those things for those that may be listening that aren't attuned. We're talking about things like, work ethic, punctuality, leadership, communication, work-life balance, stress management, flexibility, networking. All of these things and more are what we call soft skills. But I'm actually on a stump to actually change the phrase. Soft skills are so important that I think we've misnamed them. Soft skills sound like they're unimportant. Soft skills, they don't sound like they're necessary. When I think they're the darn near most important things that we teach. So I use the term professional skills. Professional skills are those things that we call those soft skills, but I believe we should be treating young people like professionals. We should be holding them to a higher accountability. We should hold them to the respect of being a professional, and those professional skills then are so critical, because that's truly the most important thing. Wall Street Journal, I'll even punctuate it this way. The Wall Street Journal did a survey of executives and hiring managers at the beginning of this year. And what they found was that 92% of those people who were surveyed felt that that professional skills are more important than both academic knowledge and technical skills. They value professional skills above those. And 89% of the respondents said that they're the hardest things for them to find in the workplace. That's incredible. So for us to teach professional skills is one of the most important things we can do. But then we must also punctuate and add to our narrative that's what we're delivering every day.
It's interesting how you term the soft skills as professional skills. What we do, Mark, through our project, we develop curriculum also for our teachers across the state of Illinois, CTE teachers. And we have what we call structured group interviews, and we bring in professionals in a career area. Let's say we were developing new lessons, which we have done, say, on cybersecurity. And we bring in professionals from that field throughout Illinois to find out what it is that profession is needing to bring in new workers into their field. What skills are they looking for? And it doesn't matter if we were doing cybersecurity or if we're doing some things with CNA or whatever area that we're talking about. The number one skill they are asking for is your term, the professional skills. It is so lacking. They'll tell us, we can train them, Rod. We can train them to do what we want them to do. But if they are not coming to us with what's your term of professional skills, they've shot themselves in the foot.
Yeah, absolutely. It's everywhere I go. I'm on planes all the time, and usually where I'm sitting, I get upgraded to first class a lot. So I'm sitting next to some pretty heavyweights in the business and industry. I have sat next to senior VPs at Lockheed Martin. I've sat next to people at John Deere, Caterpillar. I ask the same question all the time. I said, what is it that you're really looking for in a skilled workforce, and what is the number one issue and challenge that you've got? And usually it goes back and forth between the same two things. When I say what's the number one issue you've got, half the respondents say getting people to pass a drug test, and the other half say getting people to show up on time and consistently. And so it goes back and forth because each of the people who lists one of those would list the other one as the second choice. So they're looking for people who show up on time and consistently and who can pass a drug test. And if they can do that, Rob, you're so right, those are the ones that they can teach and train to do whatever they need to within their business model. So career and technical education as a lesson in this needs to change our narrative, continue to deliver the professional skills that we help students deliver, but then they also need to connect the dots to business and industry so that business and recognizes that we're giving them, those kids, and helping them create for themselves a competitive advantage in the workplace.
Moving back to some things that you were talking about earlier there, Mark, as far as technology, our students today are in a different world than what you and I grew up in. And we're talking about, we hear this digital footprint thrown out there quite a bit. And do you feel our students understand what that means to them and how it's impacting them for their careers? What have you run across with that? What could you tell our teachers to help our students with to understand this?
No, I'll be candid with you, Rob. I don't think kids understand it, and quite frankly, I'm not even sure I understand it. What the digital footprint is today. Digital is such an important, critical part of our life. Kids are so digitally connected, but I don't think they understand. I don't think they fully grasp what any of that means, and certainly how it helps them.
So what would you suggest to them? You're out there in the real world, talking to students, talking to industry leaders. What are some things that you see then when we talk about that digital footprint that is impacting them that they need to be careful of?
Well, explain to me what you mean by a digital footprint, because I'm not even sure, like I said, I'm not even sure I understand that reference myself. I've not even heard that term used, and it's just me. I travel all over the place, so maybe I've missed the most recent buzzword. But tell me what a digital footprint is to you, and then let me answer the question, because I want to make sure I answer the right question.
Sure, and maybe I'm using the wrong terms. That's just the ones I've heard. It's their placement in social media, how they are using that, things they are saying, pictures they are posting that's impacting them for their, literally maybe for their life, that we hear, even though they say they delete an account or they get rid of something,
it's there forever.
The employer wants to search on that person, what will they find and how's that impacting their future?
Yeah, no, it's with the things, I heard a long time ago, and I subscribe to this. And so now I understand what you mean by digital footprint. It is the internet is written in ink. It is not written in pencil, and you can't really erase it. It's cached all over the place, and it's yeah, young people don't understand. See, they're unique, special, and important. They've customized their entire lives around them. And what they don't understand is the things that they put out there today, which may seem cool and trendy and upbeat and or edgy, is there forever. And so I know an organization that this was maybe going back about 2 years ago. They were looking for a vice president position, and they got it down to 2 candidates for this job. And it was pretty even. I mean, they were telling me back door, they were saying, Mark, I mean, it's pretty even. Both these candidates are really good. And then they went and they did a search on the internet for whatever they could find, whatever kinds of, social media that they're in, what kinds of things have they posted. And one of the candidates had some questionable things. Now, they didn't have an issue with the questionable things because it was an alternative lifestyle. The issue that they had with was when you drilled down a little bit further into that, it got weird. And so they gave it to the other person. And so even as adults, we're dealing with that digital footprint and the things that we post. I mean, you and I are here, on this webinar, right? We're speaking. This is on YouTube. People can access this. It'll be archived out there in the world. And so what we talk about, lasts literally potentially forever. I've written over 30 articles in national publications. I've written a book. I've got videos of me out there. All of these things are out forever. And so I always have to be careful too. What kind of an image, how are you positioning yourself? And so it's important that we get young people to understand that what they post is forever and it's important.
No, thanks on that. Another thing that we deal with here, and I'm sure everybody deals with in education, is it seems like administration. I can speak to that. I was a former school administrator. That are we only pushing? You think in our schools, are we pushing too heavy a 4-year college degree with our students? Or I guess my question mark is this: and how do we provide the opportunities for our students to understand there's other paths that they may take than just a 4-year college? And this is not only through school administrators, through counselors, parents. How do we get that through to parents that there's so many opportunities for jobs that are just craving employees if you guide them in the right direction?
And Rob, forgive me, I don't mean this as a shameless plug to the book I just wrote, but the book I just wrote, Answering Why, Unleashing Passion, Purpose, and Performance in Younger Generations, was literally written to accomplish that with a book that was, a wide scale released book. Because it's in Barnes and Noble, it's on Amazon, it's in 179 airport stores across the country right now. It's in a wide release, but it tells that story and that narrative. It's the ability for us as educators to change the paradigm of what's going on out there. So let me start this way to answer your question. We have made it the job of every high school in America, seemingly, to get their students to go to college. And college, I mean 4-year university. And that seems to be our culture seems to be driven with this love affair of a 4-year university. Now, I'm a tremendous fan of a 4-year degree and beyond. But I come down on it this way: if what you want to do in life requires a 4-year degree, I think you need to invest wisely. Go with purpose, go with passion, but make sure that you get it done. And unfortunately, that's not what's happening. So I think how we have to position what career and technical education does is, again, taking that robust academic knowledge, pairing it with powerful technical skills. And it's the combination of both of those that give a kid a competitive advantage in this new economy today. Is that we also have to understand that there are lots of opportunities available. We need to tell this story to those administrators, to counselors, to teachers. We need to give them the opportunity to understand. I just did this today. My keynote speech was to superintendents of sending schools and counselors and principals and assistant principals and schedulers. And I talked to 45 people today. in this very closed controlled environment where everybody was invited, in order to change the paradigm in 8 different school systems so that they understood the power of both academic and technical and professional skills, so that they could better advise and go through career development with their youngsters and their students. It was high schools and middle schools, in order so that they could understand that you don't have to just go to a 4-year degree. There's 2-year associates, there's apprenticeships, there's certifications, advanced certifications, licensures. There's all of these ways. Why are we picking one of them? I spoke at Harvard a couple of years ago, and I was invited to speak there, and I spoke on this topic. It was like, we talk about making kids college and career ready in this country. I don't think we should be making kids college and career ready. I think we should be making them career ready, period. Sure, there's a whole bunch of careers that go through a 4-year university degree and beyond. There's a whole bunch, like I said earlier, 2-year associate's degrees, certifications, licensures, apprenticeships, all of these ways. We should be showing them the myriad, but we have to drive people to the table to have that conversation. We need to get business and industry to understand that important fact too. And we can't poo-poo a 4-year university degree. It's very important. It plays its part. We just have to open up all the opportunities.
And I would completely agree with what you're saying there, Mark. We've got to expose our students to the opportunities, let them find the paths that they want to take. But I think our challenge is making sure they understand all the potential pathways that are out there. Are you hearing anything from our business leaders of certifications that they feel our students maybe coming out of high school could really use to prepare themselves?
Nothing. I don't hear the specifics when I talk to business and industry, but I try to bring them together. But the business and industry that I've interacted with and engaged with are willing to do whatever it takes to work with our school systems in order to try to create a stream of qualified workers in the future. And that's at every level. I'm not just talking about people who are working, in an hourly situation. I'm talking about salaried worker. I'm talking about 4-year degreed workers. I'm talking about everybody. They're trying to create the right pipelines to keep people coming into their organizations. Let me give you a great example. So last week I'm in Davenport, Iowa, and I'm working with the Davenport Community Schools. So just across from Illinois, they're in the Quad Cities. And I'm getting a tour from the folks at John Deere. So executives from John Deere and myself and the community schools and the mayor of Davenport and all of these people are pulling together, and we're pulling together a regional push, including with the Chamber of Commerce, to change the paradigm in Davenport, Iowa, of how students find their way into college and careers. So I'm going through this 2.2. I'm at Davenport Works, which is a 2.2 million square foot facility. I run into a young woman named Megan. She's 24 years old. She works at John Deere. We start chatting. She's very impressive. And I said, so, we started talking about, where did you go to high school? She went to one of the high schools in Davenport. And I said, what did you take there? She said, well, I took welding. I got all my certifications in welding. I said, fantastic. I said, did you come to John Deere right after that? She said, yeah, I did. We talked a little bit further. She's already at the age of 24, got her 4-year degree so she's got a bachelor's degree in business. She is a professional welder, precision machinist, and she understands their entire painting operations. She, at the age of 24, she is now moving from the hourly side to the salary side, and she is in a position where she's now going into management. And she is so excited. And by the way, John Deere paid 2/3 of her college bill. She paid the other third because she's making great money. She's got no debt. And this is her child. And there are millions of other people like this, who have found a way to take their academic knowledge, technical skills, and create that competitive advantage. And I asked her, I said, what are your friends doing today from high school? She said, most of them went directly into a college and today are not working in their fields. Most of them are in retail. That's where we sit.
You mentioned about not in their field. We'd had a presentation of one of our workshops this summer. Presenter was talking about what degrees are the most common in colleges compared to where the jobs are. And it's just astounding to look at the graph that shows all these students are in certain areas of education or of their level of education they're studying in college. But yet when you look at the graph and it shows what jobs are available in that skill area, it's there's no match. I mean, we're pulling out so many more graduates than we are for jobs available in those fields. We just need to do a better job. And story like you just told from the student, the young lady over in Iowa at John Deere, is great information that our students need to hear. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, they need that. They need that story. And the skills gap, by the way, currently sits at 6.7 million jobs. It's grown 19 straight years in a row. But let me punctuate one thing. I don't think we have a skills gap in America. And this is what I talk about, and this is what I wrote in my book, Answering Why. I don't think we have a skills gap. I think we have an awareness gap. I think the fact that there are so many options and opportunities available to young people today that they don't recognize that those things are available is an awareness gap. If we solve the awareness gap, the skills gap will take care of itself. So we're trying to solve the wrong problem. We need to solve the awareness gap. And that's what I'm doing around the country.
Well, we appreciate that, Mark. We're winding down here. We told our audience that we would hold this to a 30-minute interview with you. Any parting comments that you have? I know you said you have your new book out. Anything else that you would like to leave us with here in Illinois as our educators will view this live or on our website? Anything else you'd like to leave us?
Just to keep doing what you're doing, but change the narrative. You're doing great work. I mean, the state of Illinois is doing wonderful things in career and technical education and workforce development. Keep doing the things that you're doing, but you have to also adopt the narrative of what the true benefits are for every student, how you help them create a competitive advantage, create a planning culture within your schools and in your programs where you can create an environment where planning is the norm of what students do, meaning they're not only free to determine where they're going, but how are they going to get there? The more you can create those pathways and create the kinds of career planning that allows them to move forward, the more you can talk about that to parents and legislators and community members and community leaders. And then third, talk about professional skills. Change the term soft skills to professional skills, and drive into every student and parent the understanding that professional skills are of critical importance. Competitive advantage, planning culture, professional skills.
Well, thank you, Mark, for those key words that you had there at the end. And we thank our viewers for joining us, and hopefully others will be joining in as they view this on our website with this interview. Just remind our people that we do have our website at www.ilcte.org, the list of all of our upcoming professional development opportunities. Make sure you visit that and check those out, and be sure to get signed up for any of the activities that we have that are coming to your area. Again, Mark, we thank you for this opportunity, and good luck with your book.
Thanks, Rob. All the best.
Thank you.